Great. So this is very different from the last time I was on this stage. All right, so my name is Christine Tsai. I'm one of the founding partners at 500. And I'm going to talk to you a bit about how 500 sees services and what we've done, in particular, two things. So Dave talked earlier about portfolio size and specifically that a large portfolio is the secret to getting returns and increasing the probability of unicorns. So obviously, at the end of the day, for all of us, we're funds. Our goal is to maximize returns for our LLPs and for us. But I'm going to kind of continue that heresy that Dave talked about and talk about what we at 500 have done to serve our portfolio. And I mean, the common argument we hear is that we're investing in now over 1,200 companies. There's no way you can possibly support all of those companies. It's probably true if what you differentiate yourself as an investor is that you're giving that one-on-one time to those companies. For us, that's, we have a very different perspective. So I think we are probably one of the most hardworking teams in the industry. Not a lot of us get a lot of sleep, but we also cannot possibly get texts and emails 24 hours a day from our portfolio companies, which actually does happen. So our view on support and services is that we're designing for, for network effects. And by that, I mean, we see that with each company we invest in, that actually makes the network stronger and makes us stronger versus weaker. And that's kind of what our view is. And do you guys know what that animal is? What? Okay, I was told by the internet those are meerkats, but anyways. But I thought that was actually a nice analogy because meerkats are very much, they live in big groups and they team up against predators like this. So, our portfolio, I'm going to talk about this in a little bit, but that is something that we think is a huge value for our companies. So. Yes, okay. So I think both Dave and Heidi talked about other firms that provide services. So this isn't a new thing. Obviously, DFJ has some level of services. First Round, Andreessen, YC, Google Ventures, they're all known for providing some level of service or network. Pop quiz, like Google Ventures, what are they big on? You just call it out. Design, yes. So they're very big on helping their companies think about design. They pitch access to the Google network, Google employees. YC has a wonderful network of their batch companies. Andreessen obviously touts their services, especially when it comes to accessing big brands and big corporates. First Round, I don't think really need to say anything. It also has an amazing network. So obviously this isn't a new concept. They've all done great things. I think the big takeaway is that obviously all of these companies or all of these funds differentiate because of these services or these value adds. So if you're an investor or fund trying to think about how do you differentiate beyond just being dumb money or beyond just being a check, you want to bring more to the table than just an investment. So what are 500 services? Or better question is, what are our superpowers? It's not working. Okay. So I'm going to talk about two. A lot of people know 500 does a lot of different things. Sometimes they say we do too many things, but there is definitely a method to the madness, and I'm going to highlight kind of what we think are two of our big superpowers in terms of portfolio. And this is not working. There we go. So superpower number one is 500 strong. Yes, it's a hashtag, but it is one of our big superpowers. So what this refers to is really our global community, our network of founders and mentors, our team. And the unique thing about this is that we are truly global. So we definitely have very deep roots in Silicon Valley, but we have portfolio companies, mentors, staff members, LPs all around the world in more than 50 different countries. So, everybody, every VC and their mom says, well, we have a great founder network or we have a great portfolio network. So, how are we different? What makes our network different? And why is this so compelling to both prospective deals and our existing investments? I think it's because it actually goes much deeper than just being a network or a community. That only kind of scratches the surface. So, before I kind of go into why that's different, briefly, just so you guys get a sense of what exactly, how the community interacts, what do we do for the portfolio when it comes to the network. So it's all of these things. So, we do have software that we've built both in-house, and we leverage things like Facebook groups where different groups of our community interact, especially when it comes to the different accelerator batches, meetups, portfolio companies by vertical definitely bond together. We're very active on social media in terms of Twitter, Facebook, et cetera. We do a lot of meetups and events. So there's definitely a lot of kind of activity and things that we do to help facilitate these interactions among our portfolio and us. But, I think that, again, I don't think that really kind of encapsulates what 500 strong means. To us, 500 strong, the reason why it's so compelling and it's more than just another founder network is that it is a culture. The slide didn't get updated. I forgot to send that in. So before I had cult, at Dave's suggestion, in capital with the U-R-E in smaller letters. But anyway, so our culture, I guess I don't know too many VCs or accelerators that think about culture when it comes to their portfolio. It's something that you often think about for your own company, your own team. But our culture is taking risks and hustling, being inclusive, as opposed to exclusive, which the VC community is normally known for. Diversity as a competitive advantage, not an afterthought. Having fun, which is kind of a funny thing to say, but we take that pretty seriously, while we don't take ourselves too seriously all the time. But the thing is, all of these values are very, very close to us as a team, and we try to kind of perpetuate that in our portfolio as well, in our community. So we want our network to embody these same values. So I think that's what's made this kind of concept of 500 strong so powerful and why so many people are drawn to it. So that's superpower number one. Number two is distro, yay! Where are all the folks on our distro team? If they're here, please jump up and down, raise your hand. I see no action. Everyone's here, yay! Okay, Dom, and that's it? This isn't helping me. Okay, so this is the distro team. They actually do stuff, not just dance on a boat. So what is distro? So distro is our play on the term distribution, which is what we refer to as growth and retention. What's popular in Silicon Valley is growth or growth hacking. The reason why we refer to it as distribution is because we see it as more than just growing the business. We also see it as engagement, retention, and really understanding your metrics. And we felt that distribution was the best way to kind of cover all those things. And then we also felt like distribution doesn't really roll off the tongue, so that's why we created a new word called distro. But why do we care about it so much? We care because distro, we find that many companies fail because obviously they run out of money, but more importantly, they don't know how to get customers. So Heidi mentioned this earlier. A lot of companies, every company wants to get customers, and we see this time and time again with a lot of our companies. It's something that they really, they either kind of overlook or they underestimate how easy or how difficult it'll be to get customers. A lot of companies don't know how to acquire them cost effectively. They don't have the mindset of constantly testing out different channels and measuring things. It comes off as very sexy with growth hacking this and that. It's actually not that glamorous. It involves a lot of work, a lot of testing, trying out new channels, and that's something that we feel is really our secret sauce and one of, hopefully, other services that we want to bring to the table when we help our companies. We think this is sort of our unfair advantage, and all these kind of terms popping up here and there are kind of a lot of different terms or tools that goes into kind of this idea of distro and understanding how to grow your customers and retain your customers. So the distro team, even though only one person raised their hand, we actually have a team of 13. A lot of them are probably traveling to helping our companies out, but we do have a pretty big team. They have a big wealth of experience doing distribution for either their own companies or other companies, all startups. Excuse me. So how distro helps 500, kind of looking at it almost like a freemium model, I guess. So at the very bottom, we produce a lot of content that is accessible to pretty much everyone. Some of you may be subscribed to our blog, to our daily kind of distro tip newsletter called Distro Snacks, but we do try to share as much content as possible. Secondly, so I call this Marketing Hell Week, but this is really sort of like the distro team, how they help the accelerator companies. So one of the big selling points of our accelerator program is that they get hands-on help when it comes to distro, which means they get a designated person or persons from the distro team every week helping them with distro, asking them how did they grow this week, have they tried this? In some cases, it can get actually very hands-on. And I will talk very quickly in a couple slides about a couple companies that really benefited from this, a couple of many examples. Going up the food pyramid, so distro dojos is kind of a new thing. It's similar in some senses to an accelerator format in that it's sort of like a boot camp style month-long program where it's really targeted at post-seed companies, mostly in our portfolio, but not always. Post-seed companies who are really looking to run up the score and get hands-on help with distro. So we have, the first one has kicked off in Malaysia, and interestingly enough, Grab Taxi, which is one of the unicorns that Dave mentioned, is participating in that distro dojo. So, and lastly, Distro Fund, which we announced a few months ago, is not an actual fund. It's kind of just more terminology, but it's basically a $10 million allocation to investing in what we think are high potential companies that could benefit from one-on-one distro help. So I will share an example of that. So first example of how distro has helped our companies. So Maven is a company that went through batch 6. They are a marketplace for African-American hair weaves, like hair extensions. So it actually helps these stylists make more money by being able to retail products, something they historically were not able to do. So the distro team, this was kind of in the early days of the distro team, they worked very closely in an engagement, excuse me, I'm gonna try to do this without hacking up along, so please bear with me. So the distro team actually even built an SMS tool to help their 30,000 hairstylists and help them interact. So they found that for their clientele, for their target customer, they weren't really responding by email. It was mostly with, thank you. It was mostly through text. It was mostly through SMS. And they were literally like buying prepaid phones and trying to handle all the text messages with their stylists. So our distro team actually built a tool to help them manage that without having to go buy a bunch of phones. It made a huge impact for them. They recently announced that they raised about $10 million in Series A from Andreessen. And this SMS tool Maven is still a customer, and it was so successful, it went on to become a portfolio company of 500 called Sonar. So that was just one of a great example of how distro helped. Two more in terms of the accelerator specifically. So Van Gogh is a company in a couple batches ago. They do unique, sorry, it's a marketplace for art. If you can see the bottom, so they increased their email open rates by about 2x, so to 40%, which is, if any of you know, is very solid. Engagement in terms of follows and likes on the Van Gogh community increased by 2x as well. They raised about $2 million both during and post 500 Accelerator. And all of these things they will confidently tell you were directly related to the work that they did with the distro team during the batch. And finally, Avenue had actually even greater success. So they went from 0 to 80K in MRR while working with the distro team. Great results as well. They increased their open rates from 3 to 60%, which is insane, and they raised quite a bit of money as well. So 3 really solid examples that this really is, so this is working. I'm getting close on time, but this is just an example of the dojo marketing, and it's a little frightening. But so as I mentioned, the first one is going on in Malaysia. Rest of the year is London, Dubai, Miami, I believe. But this is actually a way that we are bringing distro beyond Silicon Valley to companies outside of the US where there's arguably even greater need for this type of knowledge. So finally, just the proof is in the pudding, at least from our perspective. We hear this time and time again when we do interviews for the batch, when we talk to companies about investing. Network and distro are by far the two reasons why they want 500 as an investor. It's like clockwork. Like every company we talk to, that's what they know. There's a question of how measurable this is, but at least anecdotally, we hear this all the time. And we're betting that large portfolios work and services work, and we're going to do more and more of this. So there's probably more you'll hear from us about what services we offer to our portfolio companies. Now, on with the show. Thanks.